Can everybody appear now? Everybody can appear now, right? Who's not a co-host yet? Chantal. I think everybody's on. Is that right?
Yes, I think so.
I don't think I'm a co-host yet.
Who's that?
Sierra.
Sierra.
Sierra. All right. Hi, everybody. Bonjour, ni hao, salam alaikum.
You look fabulous, Giovanni.
Oh, thank you. This whole thing. I'm an alien, so I speak all kinds of languages.
You make a fabulous alien.
Eric's like, what the hell is happening? I'm over it. All right. Well, let me take this virtual background out. It's not happening. It's not allowing me. Holy schneitz. Uh-oh. I'm going to stop video. Go ahead, Jim. Floor is all yours. I'm going to hand it over to your professor, Jim Taylor, as I try to figure out how I take
Okay,
this.
good morning, everybody. Thank you. I hope you all are enjoying the reflected glow of your success from yesterday. It was a great performance, and I've only heard good things about all the performances and how well you did, and I think it was a really good experience. So we're here today to benefit from Chantal's experience and to ask her questions about what she saw and for her to give us more additional insights and expertise. So the floor is yours. Dive right in with questions and or comments. All of you, be generous with your questions and be generous with your time today. Questions for Chantal?
I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Camille.
Is there something that you saw in these performances since they were on Zoom that kind of struck you in a different way since it's such a different format?
Yeah, I mean, for one thing, the aliens looked alien, right? Which was, I mean, it made me laugh out loud when that came on. I just thought it was so funny and so amusing. I don't know that you can get the exact same effect in person. You know, you get something else, but this was really unique. Also, the way you adapted my play, it starts with me, you know, to use repetition instead of chorus, which you can't really do on Zoom. I thought was really well done. And it brought it. So when you do with the chorus, you know, in a room with a big group of people, you can build the intensity so it gets to be this very communal moment. But with the repetition on Zoom, I think what was stronger is, you know, when somebody says me, like it's that person and you have a close-up, it's not like you seeing them far away on stage. So it feels, in a way, it feels a lot more personal. Also, I loved how you used the backgrounds, the virtual backgrounds, to set the stage in a way, you know, to give us a sense of where we were. Some of them were like when they play the Six Polar Bears, you know, when you can have the breaking news background and then you can have the politicians. Again, you wouldn't be able to do the same thing on stage. It would be different, but I mean, especially the breaking news, the guy who's reading the news, it works very well on Zoom because that's how you would expect to encounter that. So there were a number of things which, with Zoom, you lose something, but you also gain something. So it was really nice to see what was gained.
I have a question, Chantal. This is now the 5th year, right? You started it and we kind of joined you the same year. 2015 was the first one.
Yeah, so it will be the 4th year.
The fourth year.
15, 17, 19, 21. Yeah.
Right. How has the visibility expanded globally since this started? Right, because it's a global project, and from the get-go, I know that your vision was to have everyone around the world, or trying to take part in every continent.
Yeah, certainly the writers, we're very intentional about the writers representing every continent. For the first time in 2019, all 50 states in the US were represented, and it was a struggle, and I know it'll be a struggle to repeat that. For the first 2 times, there are a number of states that we never, even though we do outreach, there's a number of states that we never get to participate. And also the number of events, like I think the first time in 2015, we had 80 events, and in 2019, we had over 220, just to give you a sense of how much bigger. And in 2019, again, there were 28 countries who participated, and I think 90 universities. It's pretty big. I'm curious to see what's going to happen in 2021, as we come out, hopefully, of the pandemic. If the engagement is going to be lower because of that. I mean, the plays are meant, as you proved, the plays are meant to be very flexible and can be presented in any number of ways, but I don't really know what to expect. May, did you still have a question? You had one earlier.
Yes, I was just wondering, is this your first attendance to like a Zoom play? Have you ever been to something similar, during the pandemic? Because it has been a couple months since.
I have seen a few readings. The new group in New York did readings of climate change plays. I also saw another event which was delightful that Gigi participated in, which was with high school students. Do you want to say a little bit about it, Gigi?
Yeah, sure. I directed high school students in a number of eco drama and environmental plays, a handful of which were from the 2017 anthology, and then a handful from the 2019 anthology, some of which you guys also did last night. It was really fun to get to direct them, but we actually directed them, the students were off book, they were in character, and they were performing, which was actually really interesting. They did a really good job knowing the constraints of Zoom. So yeah, I invited Chantal so she could come see what was being done with her plays and plays from the anthology through Zoom.
And it was a bit more technically involved, right? Because all the students had green screens behind them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yes. Following along that question, I was wondering if you've seen a couple of them before, then how are they different from the way we conducted our play reading, or how do you think they were? What are some of the cool ways they use that we did not use in our reading?
Actually, you used a lot more than the readings that I saw done by the new group, which was just, characters, just the actors and their space reading. So you used a lot more, tried to make use of the technology a lot more. And in comparison to Gigi's event, as she mentioned, the students had all this technical stuff. The plays were completely staged, so yours falls somewhere in between. But again, the creativity that went behind using the technology to your advantage, I really admire that.
Thank you.
How was it for you? Did you spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to use the platform, or did you come in with ideas already when you had the plays, when you knew you were going to do the plays? Anyone?
Don't be shy.
I think using the technology was half the battle because we had to switch green screens constantly. So it kind of created like we'd have late entrances because we missed our I don't know some dialogue that happened. So that was interesting. It was very fast, so it was hard to like click constantly.
So each one of you were doing your own, dealing with your own technology, yeah? Yeah, that's intense. I guess maybe that's the equivalent of a costume change, except you have to do it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we had to
mean-
change. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Lucy.
We had to change our background, our name, whatever costume we were wearing. Yeah, we had enough time for the costume change, but for the screens, it was kind of awkward because you just saw, like, all of a sudden I would be in a forest and then I'd be somewhere else. So it's kind of weird.
One of the directors was a little extra. So basically, I mean, they could share. There's 4 pieces that I directed. So each cast I sent the last minute, like a day, something like the day of for some of y'all, screens of like, oh, this is how Layla's forest will look like, 3 different iterations. But it's what I really love about what happened, and this is the thing about theater or perform or being a creative is when you give a nugget of inspiration to some of the cast or some of the artists, they explode, right? I mean, that that alien will go in history, right, as one of the best things you'll ever see. But I think that and many of those screenshots and ideas, Zaid, I mean, he was like, "Can I try?" You could talk about it a little bit more about once you start kind of getting into the story, right? So I do want to acknowledge their innovation as well. I mean, Salim is still in Waimea Canyon, apparently.
Yeah, I'm still here. No, I was just gonna say, for me, we had 2 rehearsal sessions, and I think like the first one, it was a lot more confusing because we were trying to sort the breakout. Like we were in a regular Zoom session, and we were trying to sort breakout groups, and we had a lot of troubles. Like I was getting in, I was being kicked out of one, and then we lost like half our time just trying to get into a group, and then we didn't know like how fast we should read, what accents we should use and stuff. So I think the second rehearsal was a lot more like it was flowing a lot better. Everyone was more engaged in it. Everyone was having a lot more fun. And then we were trying all these different like backgrounds and stuff. And then Zaid was like trying different wolf voices. And it was really fun. It was really good too. He thinks it's bad, but it's really good. And I thought that it was a really good experience for me. All of this.
I loved your comment also. I think it was you last night who said that it brought you closer together. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I just want to add on to what Salim said. I also feel like preparing for the play in itself was different. Like, you know how like leading up to every play, you have like specific stuff you need to follow. So for us, for example, like making sure all our heads are the same like size in every frame. And that was like something I never thought of before. But it was definitely like, you know, something you need to do to make sure that it works. And I feel like also I think as Salim was saying, it was really hard at first, like how many backgrounds do I need to have? And then how do I change? And then for example, like for the Red Riding Hood, we met outside to make sure like after class to repeat it a couple of times to make sure we got it on time. And yeah, I don't know, it was like really interesting, but also really weird. But I feel like it was the same feeling of being in a normal play in the sense that you still have to like do rehearsal before and then do like some preparation to make sure you get in the mood, because even though it's online, you still have to make sure you're like on the same page with everyone else. So it kind of like we had to like coordinate in a different way, but it was still like the same team effort that goes into every play.
That's great. So how many of you have been on stage before? Everybody? Oh, not everybody. Okay, great. How many of you want to be on a real stage now that you've done it on Zoom?
Come on, Lucy.
And okay, I have a question for you also. You studied these plays in class, right? And then you put them up. How does your relationship to the play or your understanding to the play changes now that you've performed it or them?
I think for me, it becomes more personal because when you're like analyzing the play in class, you're thinking about like the history of it or like what the author is trying to say. But when you start performing it, it's like, what are you trying to say through this play? Like, how is your stories, how is your actions in this play trying to tell a different story or like project the story that the author is trying to tell?
But also add, because the plays I acted in, we didn't study in class, but like watching the plays that we did study in class kind of emphasized the like subtlety of the points or the message that the you know play art was trying to tell. So it was like, oh, I know this before, but it's a different effect when you watch it or when you see it performed, because it's like you know, especially with the effects of like having camera off at one point and then, for example, having the masks and then watching Camille also do like Canary, it kind of like sends through the message more effectively, because when you read it, you know, like you read it and then you move on, but then now that you watch it perform, it kind of resonates more and you kind of understand why it's important, it matters more.
For me, there was definitely, I guess, a big difference in just reading the play and seeing it perform, but it wasn't for the plays that I performed, it was for the plays that my peers performed, that I was the audience. I thought it was really interesting. For example, when I read Canary in class, my impression of it, I imagine it as being very sad, like there was melancholy within the words, and just the overall tone was more gentle and sad. But obviously, for example, in Camille's interpretation, it was a little bit different than what I had in mind. There was more like zeal and anger in her voice when she read the same words that I previously read in my head. So just, I think the experience of seeing like another interpretation of the text was valuable, and it changed my perception of some of the plays. I didn't necessarily experience it for the ones I did, because I did follow my interpretation that I had when I read it, but it was really cool to see the interpretations of other plays that they performed.
Someone else? Gigi, I wanted to ask you, because I know that you performed Canary, right? It must have been in last year, in 2019? Yeah. So how was it for you to see it being performed by someone else?
I mean, a little heartbreaking, but that's fine. It was beautiful to hear those words again, because I think, I mean, you know, especially for us, we we studied a little bit, read it, and then got to perform it, and then, moved on from it. And especially with Canary, because it's dealing with something that I don't think we ever really think about. We don't really think about like the smells and like the chemicals that we're putting onto our body, or like what we're wearing, what we're carrying around. We don't really think about any of that. And to hear it again, also I would love for whoever directed it to talk more about why you did it the way you did, because I loved the images and I thought that was a really beautiful way to do it. Also, when I performed it, we also had, music to like the last bit of it. And I was really curious how you guys were going to do that now, because I think that music is a really powerful tool when it comes to pairing it with theater, and not like musical theater, but like music and theater. And so I think that you did such a wonderful job of carrying such powerful words and such a powerful, issue that we don't necessarily talk about or really think about. You delivered it with such beauty and such grace. And I think if you could talk more about why you chose the images you did and even the music that you did, I would love to hear about it.
Sure. Well, Professor Geo put it all together, so I just filmed the images, and I think we were both thinking of like having a natural aspect to it, since the play talks about how like we're moving kind of away from this like natural way of life and putting all these like petrochemicals into our life and into our bodies. And so there's like this contrast between like the city we have in the beginning and then like the nature we have towards the end of it, and like the peacefulness and like the chaos between both. I know, Gio, do you want to add on?
I mean, I could, yeah, absolutely. I think the moment that Camille said that she was in Ghent, Belgium, I was like, this is an opportunity. I think, especially right now, the climate crisis is not just happening in one part of the world, it's all over the world. So I think that was that and going back to why I got into environmental issues, that I think this, Chantal, that the people affected and countries affected by it the most are marginalized, or what we used to call like third world countries, but up and coming countries. So to segue into the experience in that Camille has in Ghent, I was like, I know for a fact that Belgium is architecturally stunning, but also at the same time, there are spaces that are filled with nature. So that was basically my prompt. We should see the beauty of Belgium in cityscapes and landscapes and in nature. But then that's the problem. Like I said, when you give them like this nugget of inspiration and go for it, she went for it. Can you talk a little bit about that hike? And I mean, the shadow, there was like a shadow that looked like a bird. I mean, it was just really wonderful. So when I got all of that, I was like, oh, this is going to be easy to edit. One thing that we did do was the voiceover. Can you share how many takes you did for that voiceover? Because I know there was more than one. Oh, also the first idea was vastly different from what we ended up with.
Yeah, definitely a few takes on that voiceover. I realized at the end that you can edit within like I think the voice memos app on your phone, so that definitely helped. But in terms of like the hike, we're in lockdown right now, so we can't actually do much, but we can go on hikes. So it was kind of a great opportunity to go and be in parts of the city that I actually hadn't really been in before. And like I've really one friend here because Corona and everything, but she like showed me this beautiful forest that's between Ghent and Bruges. And it's kind of this like, it was beautiful. There was all this like community there, and the kids were out on like a Sunday morning because no one can really do anything, but also like, I don't know, it was like even within that forest, there was like a contrast between like the town and the forest, and because there's houses in between, and there was a highway that had like fallen down that they were trying to rebuild at one point, like within it. So it was a like very urban and rural at the same time. But also, yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it. So.
And can I ask, you said the original idea was vastly different. Where did you, what was it?
It was having a videotape of me in my room doing it. Like we had, well, we filmed a first take of me in my window, but it wasn't quite what we were looking for. So we ended up going with the whole voiceover. And then we were also going to have me recite some of the monologue outside. But I think like in terms of being on book still and making like everything work together, that we came out with like the best option.
I have to tell you, I saw very recently another, a theater company in Montreal who participated in CCTA, did a bunch of short films from these plays. And the first one was Canary, which I saw last week, and they're doing 4 more, I think. And so it's one actress standing on a stage, all by herself, and she doesn't move at all. And there's images projected on her skin. It was quite interesting. Yeah. It's really, I mean, one of the things I like most about climate change theater action is seeing how the plays are interpreted by different people. Yep. It's just like, it explodes your understanding of what a text can be. And it reminds me every time that the text is only, by itself, it's when people put life into it that it becomes something, and it can become so many different things.
Everyone, I do have to head to another meeting, but Professor Taylor has.
Gio, thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye-bye. Chantal, I wonder if you could, or maybe this would be for the class. What are the plays that we didn't get to perform that you wish we had performed?
What are the other plays you studied? Do you remember?
Yeah, we had like a long list. In class we studied only a couple. We had like 8 or 10. I don't remember. And then for this play reading, we had like 24. I think that we were going to choose from, and then we had to choose a top 3 that we wanted. And I had one that I sent, but I forgot the name. I was just trying to find that. For no particular reason, I just like the tone and the language of the play, so I really wanted that to be one. I'll tell you when I found the name. But.
Or if you tell me what it's about, I can probably remember.
It's either #U2 or The Big Chief, one of those 2. But I don't remember which one.
Big Chief.
The Big Chief. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah.
That's the guy in an SUV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Other plays that were on the cutting room floor?
I think in my sheet where I ranked them, I also ranked a play called A Letter from the Ocean or something along those lines. Yeah, for me, that play just kind of stood out to me because the tone was very different from a lot of the plays that I've seen surrounding CCTA. Like, I feel like most of the plays we've read, the tone is a lot of the time very angry, and that makes sense regarding the topic that we're dealing with. But I thought that was like a really interesting contrast from all the other plays we've read, because the tone was very sort of dreamy and loving, and so I thought that would be like a cool contrast to include compared to other plays that were either more sarcastic or more angry or more sad. So I thought that was like an interesting one.
It's an interesting challenge to get playwrights to go off the most obvious track, I think. And I'm probably guilty of it too. You know, we put how we feel into our writing. And for a lot of people, it's anger or despair or sadness. But I agree with you. Caridad has a gentleness to her play. And I've seen this play because it's very open. I've seen it done by one person, and I've seen it done, and we have done it for the launch of CCTA 2019 with 4 actors. So it's really open to interpretation, which makes it also a great play to tackle, because you can shape it, you know, however you want.
We did it last year, and I think we kind of felt that it's kind of like Canary in its feeling.
Yeah.
It's not as strong, but yeah, it was beautifully done last year. Tringy did a good job. What other questions do you have? Other plays that you wish we had done? How about the bee play? Isn't the bee play the most popular?
It's one of the popular ones.
Starving to Death in Midtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked that play. I actually wrote my first paper on it because I really enjoyed it. I wanted to put it, but I wanted to do something that maybe had like a duet or with another person, because I felt like that might be a nice experience as well. But I really, really enjoy that play because I feel like it takes you on a flow, and I like how the bee tries to like speak to humans, and then the bee keeps on saying like how you people say it, how humans say it. I feel like it's very, very interesting. I guess very interesting the way the bee balances between being a bee and then also like trying to talk to humans. Like that balance was really interesting. So yeah, that was a play I would like to perform one day.
I also have one of my papers on Starving to Death in Midtown, but like Zaid said, while we were choosing, I wanted something to do with a couple of people, not just like a monologue or my monologue reading. That's why I didn't put it down there, but I think it's a really strong and it's a really good play. So that I didn't want to like do a reading alone. So.
I guess doing a monologue on stage and doing a monologue on Zoom is different, and I can see why you'd want to be with other people. I mean, the Zoom platform is already isolating, so being able to engage with other people would be more fun.
Mm-hmm. Did you, when you started this project, did you imagine that this was going to become a movement?
No, no, we didn't even, I never thought about it having a life before, beyond the first time. You know, we were just doing it this once because it was this was the year of the Paris Climate Conference. It was such a huge deal. And, you know, we did it. It was crazy. It was fun. And then I didn't really think of it until maybe a year later, where I thought, I think we should do this again. And it was partly because of the response, because, you know, if we had done it this one time and it had been a mild response, maybe I just would have let it go. But it felt like there was such a hunger for it. Right. And every year I'm, you know, the response I get is like, oh, we like this, we want to do this. And so that's what keeps me going.
Right. So you've sort of created a genre
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And the plays are so portable also because it's
Right.
they're short and anybody can pick one
Yeah.
up.
Sure.
What so this was this the culmination of a class or do you have
No,
more?
they still have, we still have one more class to read. Caridad Fitch's, what's it called again? Remind me the name? The Way of Water.
Mhm.
And then we'll have a final discussion. So why doesn't somebody talk about the writing, the creative writing assignment? I think that'll be fun for Chantal. Somebody who's doing the third assignment?
I can talk about it. So basically, we had a few options for our last paper, and one of them was a creative project where we propose another play. So I wanted to do a play like about my experience growing up in New York, but like surrounded by an atmosphere that's like very understanding of climate change, but like also how that promotes anxiety about it because you know how real it is and like how the media, or not the media, but like social media around my generation is very active, and just like how to use that anxiety to create change, but like also like to understand like how, I don't know, how like damaging it can be sometimes to your self. Yeah.
So you're writing a play about that uses these ideas?
So we're not actually writing the piece. We're just proposing. So we have like the elements of it and like really planning it out.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great. Is someone else doing the same assignment?
Yeah.
you
Mai,
wanna
tell us about yours. Mai?
Okay, so for me right now, the plan is I want to write something that was inspired by my childhood growing up in Vietnam. So I was born and raised in Vietnam. And when I was young, Vietnam was a very different country. The country experienced rapid industrialization, rapid economic growth in my lifetime. So it changed drastically throughout my lifetime. So there were a lot of interesting experiences that I had with growing up like that. For example, when I was 6, I remember one of the tallest building in the entire southern part of the country stood at like 6 stories tall. And then when I left Vietnam to go to the United States 2 years ago, like the entire city were lined with skyscrapers. So it was like a huge difference. And that came with a lot of environmental costs. For example, I stayed, the neighborhood that I lived in 10 years ago, it was filled with very lush scenery. Part of it was really rural, like we had some really lush meadows and it was gorgeous. And I spent my time like trekking down the streams and there were so many trees. And a couple years later, it was completely cut down.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my creative project, I want to write about 2 childhood friends. It's inspired by my own experience, who grew up in the same lush area that they always called home, but then they left home in pursuit of different dreams. And when they came back to a very different place that they no longer recognize. So that was my personal experience, and I want to write a play about that. Really speaking to land use changes and how that's a big issue in climate change in general.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It must be really heartbreaking to go back to a place you knew and loved and it's all concrete now.
Somebody else want to volunteer?
I also chose the third option, and I wanted to propose a play where it's like a conversation between Donald Trump and Greta Thunberg, because I found it very timely that like while this assignment was given, the US pulled out of the Paris Agreement and Trump kind of lost. So I wanted to like tie all of those, and like Greta saying these to Trump and like mentioning that these are the reasons why he lost. And I wanted to make like both a powerful and a funny, humorous play. So I'll write about that.
I mean, just putting these two people together is already powerful and funny. So, yeah. You know, I love hearing your ideas, and it's making me think that so much of the time we hear journalists talking about these things, and how powerful it is if you have someone who has really experienced these things telling the story in their own words. So I'm glad you're thinking about or you're putting these ideas on paper.
More shares? Zed, how about you? What are you writing about? Zed?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Sierra. Never mind. Yeah, so I didn't choose that prompt. The prompt I chose was the second prompt, which is to be inspired by a specific article that you found, and then apply like the topics discussed in the article to some of the plays that we studied. So I found an article that, well, first of all, I was very interested by ecofeminism, which is something that we studied previously in the class, and so like I was specifically interested about like this quote that said like it challenges how like women are supposed to be in society and in their role in climate change. So I found an article that was delving deeper into that, and then I wanted to make a connection to two of our plays. The first, Heroes and Saints, and then the second one was Hurricane Diane. And the one about Hurricane Diane is one I really found I was really interested in, because the main character Diane is like challenging the role a woman is expected to play, and I'm saying how this is like offering commentary on like the traditional like gender roles, and then how it's like challenging them, and then how that ideally would like cause a reaction in the audience. And then about my other play, which was about, what was she called? Caesarea? What was the main character called? I forgot.
Heroes and Saints, Sarazita.
Yeah, Sarazita, about how like the fact that she didn't have a body was a very interesting choice to make, and how that gave her more spiritual power, and why that is important, especially as a like how that kind of she was the leader, and how that challenged typical perceptions of women in general.
Lucy.
Jim, you come up with really good subjects for, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. I chose prompt number 1 as well. Or no, I chose prompt number 1. And I decided to write about the play Tooth and Claw, and kind of give it constructive criticism about the complexities that it discusses, because this play, it has multiple layers to it, and sometimes as I was reading it, I found it a little overwhelming, and so I just found a review that mentioned that same thing, and it kind of sparked the idea of like, oh yeah, I can see how they saw it that way. So I wanted to dive deeper into the many complex issues they brought up all into one play, and whether or not that was effective, and how it could be better put together, I guess.
Okay. We have a couple more. Sierra, tell us about the Grizzlies.
I decided to do the third creative option, and I am like proposing to like make this week-long summer camp for elementary age students, and it would probably happen in Montana, and the problem that it kind of focuses on is biodiversity loss, and how like logging and deforestation can affect the wildlife. And with like mainly a focus on the grizzly bear population because a lot of grizzly bears live in Montana. And so for the 5 days, the first half of the day, the campers would go and do something outdoorsy like hike, bike, swim, and then hike again on the last day. And the second half of the day, when they returned to camp, they would do a bunch of different like theater or drama related activities and practice for their final performance, which would be on Friday. And the performance would be a short play about a mama grizzly bear and her baby cub, and kind of how they're trying to survive while humans are kind of destroying their environment and habitat.
Okay.
Wow, that's such a great idea. And it's so fully formed. I hope you go and create that camp.
There are a couple more. Eric?
Yeah, so I chose option number 2. It's the one where you find an article and connect it to one of the plays. And I found this paper by Theresa May. Apparently Professor Taylor knows who that is. I don't know if you do. But it's a very interesting paper. It has a lot of very interesting points that I never really thought about before. And I'm going to try to connect it to a cool dip in the Saharan Creek in the ideas of humans versus environment in relation to like what's more important. Because that's one of the ideas that Miss May presented, and how it can be represented on a stage as opposed to in different forms of media like writing a paper or even on a TV show or something, and how theater is unique and different from everything else like that.
Sounds great.
Did everybody talk about their paper? Gigi, did you talk about your paper?
I didn't, but it made me want to go look up my paper. I remember doing this. I wrote a play, or I proposed a play and then wrote like a scene of the play. I think that it's probably a very similar like prompt. But I made mine about the Titans and how people put their faith in like higher beings, saying that like it was based on an article that we read that's like humans decide that they won't do anything to stop climate change because the gods, like in a biblical sense, wouldn't flood the earth again. Like they put all their faith in something higher than them. And so I wrote a play about the Titans basically thinking like Helios thought as he pulled the sun across, it's his doing for, you know, melting the ice caps and like creating the landslides in Alaska. And then Selene, who is the phases of the moon, thought that she was the reason for the water, you know, rising in Florida and like destroying homes. And basically I just like humanized like the earth, I humanized the earth as Gaia. And basically like the dichotomy between like, is it okay for these Titans to like kill off humanity to save Gaia? And then like the flip side of that is like, is it okay for humanity to be killing off Gaia in the first place, to be killing the earth? So yeah, I forgot all about that. So it was nice to go down memory lane. It was a really fun project though. I really remember like getting into it. So yeah.
Sabrina, thank you. Sabrina, I think you're last.
Okay, so I did the third creative project as well. My proposal is kind of what I imagine a conversation between my grandfather and my granddaughter would look like. So my grandfather, the character who's inspired by my grandfather, is a white older man from Pennsylvania who voted for Trump both in 2016 and 2020. And I just kind of wanted to explore how he would interact with someone who's experiencing the consequences of his inaction on climate change and his decisions.
not to support politicians who are trying to make a change for the better.
That's very moving. Just that relationship. Yeah.
Chantal, I think we're going to let you go, but we want to thank you again for attending last night.
Thank you. It was
and-
such a
and also
pleasure.
for joining us again today. Everybody, let's give Chantal a round of applause, virtual applause. And thank you for being here, and thank you for helping us with our performance. I'd like to keep everybody for just a minute after Chantal excuses herself, if that's okay. And then we'll look forward to seeing you again very soon, Chantal. And best
Yeah.
of luck in all that you do.
Thank you, and good luck with the rest of the semester and your last projects. It was
Okay.
a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
Chantal.
Am I
So,
okay to go as well?
yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Gigi. Good to see you. So I just wanted to remind you that next Tuesday will be the day for Salim and Zed's presentation for The Way of Water. So I'll send you a reading and viewing assignment for Tuesday, and then next Thursday will be our discussion. I have a special guest for our final class day on the 24th. So I'll just tell you that it's a surprise. If we could, we would have refreshments, but we can't have refreshments. So the other thing is you're going to receive a link. What?
Your voice cut out, Professor, while you were
Oh.
saying you had a guest. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we have a guest on the 24th, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. Okay. And then you'll receive a link from the ID1 program to fill out a course evaluation. You can fill that out at any time. We won't take class time to do it, but I would like you to take the time to fill it out. It takes about 20 minutes. You can fill it out at any time. I won't see it until the end of the semester after the grades are in, but this is really important. So, just try to do it thoughtfully. What this does is it enables me to kind of make changes for the future and help future classes be successful. So do fill it out thoughtfully. Okay. Great work again last night. You guys really came together in a wonderful way, and I'm so glad we did this. So congratulations. I've heard only good things from people who have commented. All right. Great. See you on Tuesday. Oh, papers on Sunday. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Professor. Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Bye.